Hey y'all, welcome back for the LAPD. We are in chapter 2. I did sleep in between these, but here we are in the same outfit because this is the only appropriate outfit for this. This is probably the longest portion of this chapter, so bear with me as I read, please. The Los Angeles Police Department. In September 2006, Mayor Villarosa and the LAPD chief William Bratton implemented Safer Cities Initiative, or SCI, in downtown LA. The broken windows theory of policing by James Q. Wilson and George L. Kelling inspires the Safer Cities Initiative. Broken windows theory is a criminological theory that suggests norm setting and signaling effect within urban areas by monitoring and publishing antisocial and criminal behavior in minor crimes such as vandalism and littering. There is a likelihood that more serious and even violent crimes will not take place in as fear will overrule and change behavior. That's someone else's writing. So let me explain this quick. So SEI, or broken windows theory, is like really harsh punishment for loitering, littering, vandalism, stupid shit, because it's kind of like the DARE program. Like they scare you out of wanting to commit any higher crimes, right? Like they see like those crimes as like gateway crimes, right? So they punish them very harshly, so that it curbs people away from doing harsher shit, which makes no sense because basic ass human nature is that if you are either punished harshly or, encouraged not to do something, you want to do it even more, okay? Which I feel like they know. That's like basic ass psychology. Within the 50 square. The result of SCI was the infiltration of militarized cops in Skid Row. Within the 50 square block area, an additional 50 to 110 LAPD were deployed in the streets. Foucault explained this model in the beginning of the 20th century, saying, in which the least act of disobedience is punished, and the best way of avoiding serious offenses is to punish the most minor offenses very severely. Adding the principal punishment inflicted was confinement to one's cell. SCI is formed to instill fear and threat in residents and to serve as surveillance and mobility. SCI caters to the up-and-coming bourgeois in downtown Los Angeles. In response to the officer-involved shooting of Margaret Mitchell, a 55-year-old woman with known mental health issues, the LAPD implemented system-wide mental assessment response teams, also known as SMART. Listen, if SMART is anywhere in the acronym, it's something to stay away from, okay? As Margaret Mitchell's death could have been avoided. Oops, sorry, my bad. According to the LAPD official statement regarding the murder of Margaret Mitchell, 2 bike cops were on duty when they came across Mitchell, and here is a quote for a while of what the police report said. Suspected she was in possession of a stolen shopping cart, the officers ordered her to stop. She was black, by the way. She refused to stop and started walking rapidly on walking south on La Brea. At the southwest corner of La Brea and 4th, Miss Mitchell stopped and faced the officers, screaming obscenities. Officer Larrigan tried to calm Miss Mitchell down. She pushed the shopping cart toward him. He blocked it with his foot. It was then that Miss Mitchell pulled out a 12-inch long screwdriver from a pile of clothing. Are we all rolling our eyes? She held it in a stabbing position, threatening to kill the officers if they got any closer. So like this. That's a wand. Instinctively and simultaneously, both officers drew their service pistols. Service pistol, please. The officer again told her to drop the screwdriver. She refused. As Officer Larrigan was using his radio to request backup support, Mitchell again raised the screwdriver and lunged at Larrigan. Fearing for his life and believing that Mitchell was about to stab him in the neck, please, Officer Larrigan assumed a semi-crouched position and fired one shot. Margaret Mitchell was hit in the upper right chest. Margaret Mitchell was pronounced dead less than 1 hour later. Rest in peace to Margaret Mitchell. The unsettling commonalities of the murder of Margaret Mitchell and the current policing in Skid Row are palpable. With the revisions of 5611, the LAPD are targeting homeless residents who have property and destroying their tents. If a stolen shopping cart could excuse a death 16 years ago, there are no changes today. The shopping carts are used to keep belongings and address the concerned mobility implications of the new municipal code, but people are still being targeted. Once arrested, their items are thrown away, resulting in a deeper poverty upon being released from jail. In response to this unlawful murder, the LAPD and the Department of Mental Health, or DMH, formed SMART. The SMART model is sold as an arrangement that promotes communication and relationship building that offers the support of quick decision making and excuses use of lethal force in the all too frequent reporting of, quote, officer-involved shootings. Even with the implementation of SMART, the LAPD still leads the nation in officer-involved shootings. Sorry, the cats are zooming. Per the LAPD manual regarding police contact with a person suffering from mental illness. So this is reading from the actual manual. In police contacts with persons suffering from a mental illness, the goal of the department is to provide a humane, cooperative, and compassionate and effective law enforcement response to persons within our community who are affected with mental illness. The department seeks to reduce the potential for violence during police contacts involving people suffering with mental illness while simultaneously assessing the mental health services available to assist. This requires a commitment to problem-solving, partnership, and supporting a coordinated effort from law enforcement, mental health services, and the greater community of Los Angeles. So they want people to narc, right? The language used to describe those suffering with mental health issues produces suspicion and caution in potential interactions with LAPD. Interactions the LAPD may encounter with a person suspected of committing a crime, someone in need of assistance, or someone who is suffering from a mental illness or in crisis. This language excuses and protects the LAPD regardless of the result of the interaction with a person who is suffering from a mental illness. Since its inception, the Safer Cities Initiative has failed the community as money is being allocated to militarize, dehumanize, and criminalize the residents of Skid Row instead of allocating funds into solutions to homelessness and illness, housing, resources, and services. Acknowledging the issue around homelessness and mental illness in November of 2015, the LAPD paired with county entities announced the RESET, Resources Enhancement Services and Enforcement Teams project to replace SCI. RESET is supposed to... I forgot about this shit. This happened while I was there. Okay, RESET is supposed to include the reassignment of SCI cops to 4 zoned areas of Skid Row. Each zone, distinguished by population and crime rates, will have 1 dedicated team of 2 officers on foot patrol and response officers assigned for backup. Additionally, according to the LAPD statement, each zone will have a multidisciplinary team made up of the Department of Mental Health, Health Services, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, or LAHSA, LAPD, and a peer advocate. I'm a peer advocate. I would never work with the cops. Working with individuals in need of services and housing. I mean, point blank period, LA just doesn't do shit. When you have a city, I'm sorry, I have to interject. When you have a city that has Beverly Hills, Bel Air, and Hollywood, and 50 miles away is Skid Row, I mean, it's crazy. It's insane. But I think that's common for most urban cities. I didn't grow up in LA. I lived there for 4 or 5 years. So it was so easy for me to see. The wealth gap is insane. Okay? Anyway. However, it is not clear whether the service teams are actually a part of Reset or just LAPD trying to claim credit for a win for funding for Skid Row targeted housing for Health C3 program funding by the county. C3 was like the county's efforts for mental health response. And they were cool. I worked with a few of them. According to the county officials, the LAPD version of outreach teams is incorrect or inaccurate. While Reset is being sold as a better alternative to SCI officers harassing and citing homeless residents in Skid Row for sitting and lying on the streets and too often using violent and lethal force, we must remain skeptical. It is crucial the residents of Skid Row do not accept the high hopes and rhetoric that the LAPD spews, and it is more important than ever for us to come together and get involved. The residents of Skid Row are the experts of their own experiences, not the mayor and city council, commissioners, board of supervisors, or, and especially, the LAPD. Residents and community organizers recognize the end of SCI as a victory that the community of Skid Row has demanded for years and harness that celebratory energy into the ongoing fight of stripping the LAPD of all resources that could and should be going to the only thing that will end homelessness: building permanent homes with wraparound services. Moreover, Skid Row residents and organizers will not stop calling for an end to the criminalization of homelessness until those practices, no matter the name, end. All right, next we're going to talk about some of the private sectors.